So Archer has been quite the OP class lately. It went from crappy to overpowered, and so I recently switched to Archer. I keep switching, I know it's bad, but it's that overpowered that I just had to switch. And kind of like my mage class video, I'm just going to be going over the best budget class, all the Reforges you want, all the weapons, all the armors, the best build, everything. And so let's just get started with the best budget class. So the best budget class is Epic Skeleton Master. This goes for about 20k on auction, and it's basically Legendary Skeleton Master but epic. I mean, it's basically the same thing. If we go over to the auction and go to Skeleton Master here, we can see that it's going, if this loads, up for about 45k. Look, it does 25, increases your ammo damage by 25%, increases the damage you do with your arrows by 5%. Your bows don't consume arrows, so you basically have infinity, a number of arrows. It increases the damage you do with your arrows by 50%, and it gives you a decent amount of health and defense. Obviously, you're going to be very squishy with this set. This is going to cost you around 200k for the full set. It's really cheap. And yeah, so that's the best budget class. This, by the way, is better than Skeleton Soldier. If you guys see here, I think Skeleton Master gives you a little more crit damage, and it gives you a little more health, and overall it's just a little bit better. Yeah, so it's basically the same thing, but that gives you infinite arrows, a little more health and defense, and a little more crit damage. So I suggest getting Epic Skeleton Master. I got Legendary because I have enough money, and it's quite good. The best budget bow you want to get is the Magma bow. This is really nice and costs about 200k right now. Basically what it does is if you have magma cream in your quiver, you do double your damage, and it's not a dungeon item, but it's still a very good budget weapon if you're gonna be an archer, and you'll be doing around 100k probably with Epic Skeleton Master, and you're an archer class, you'll be doing 100k per hit, and is really quite nice. So that's the budget option, the Magma Cream or the Magma Bow with full Epic Skeleton Master. Now for the Reforges. You want Fierce on your armor, you want, if you can afford it, Spiritual. Otherwise you can go for Rapid, Deadly, or I forgot what the other one was. But just go for anyone with high damage and crit chance. Make sure you have 100% crit chance, so when you pull your bow all the way back, you'll actually like crit every time. I guess we can just look now. Alright, yeah. So the other one was Unreal. If you're going on a budget, then definitely the Unreal. If not, then go for Spiritual, and that gives you basically the same thing as Unreal, but when you hit grants a 10% chance to spawn a spirit decoy when you kill an enemy in the dungeon. So you just basically get a decoy sometimes when you kill an enemy, and they're basically another decoy, which is kind of nice. So for your, basically what you want is crit damage, because arrows are affected by your crit damage and not by your magic damage or whatever. So if you go to your accessory bag and reforge your whole bag to forceful, this does the most damage. Like, it does more than reforging, and it takes like a couple seconds. You put your accessory bag in, get forceful, and you'll be doing the most amount of damage. For the best like regular class, if you have more money, this will cost about 30 mil for the whole set. It's quite expensive, but if you have the money, you can do it. You want legit full 5-star legendary Fierce Skeleton Master. with hot potato bugs, score 5, prop 5. So yeah, so you get around 2,000 health and 1,000 defense in dungeons. You get a bunch of crit damage, and it's just overall a really good armor. Then for your bow or weapons, you're gonna want the hurricane bow, the spirit bow, the bone meringue, and just maybe an aspect of the end in a ornate zombie sword. The weapons here is quite easy. The hurricane bow, you can just basically spam it. Like if there's a lost adventure and you don't want to pull all the way back on your spirit bow, you can just kind of spam your hurricane bow. They won't be able to touch you, and you do a crap ton of damage. If you put rend on this too and you left click, all the arrow shots in him will deal a crazy amount of damage to him. And so put the ultimate enchant rend on your hurricane bow, and then that's good for bosses and if they're rushing you and everything. If you're just trying to clear rooms and do a bunch of damage, I definitely recommend spirit bow. With all the right armor and accessories, I do about 1 mil damage for a regular mob with no health or with no defense, and so that's obviously kind of OP. That's why I switched over to archer. This costs about 20 mil, 12 mil for a 5-star, and 7 mil for a non. Because this to get it 5-star, it costs like 2,000 wither essence, and that's gonna take your life of grinding. So just buy it 5 stars. If you can get 4 stars, whatever you want, as long as it's higher stars. The reason this is better than mosquito bow is because it's a dungeon item, and if you're not catacombs 30, which will take again your whole life of grinding, then the spirit bow is not really easy, but you can 5-star it. It's cheaper than the mosquito bow, and I mean, just look at the stats. 520 damage in dungeons, 330 strength. It's honestly just OP, so get that. Costs 11 mil. Put spiritual. If you want, you can recombobulate it if you try hard, but I put 5 stars with all the enchants, and you'll be stacked. This does about 1 mil, but yeah. Then this is like overpowered. You can have multiple bone meringues. It's basically a slingshot that does one-shots enemies, and it's great for clearing rooms in the where a bunch of animals came. You can just like shoot it, it'll come back, and you'll do a crazy amount of damage. If we check right now, again, you can 5-star this. It's only 4 stars because it costs like 5 mil more to get a 5-star one. So right now, I'm not in dungeons. I do 40k. Coming back, it does 80k because the damage is doubled. And so you want this rapid or spiritual boomerang. Actually, I haven't enchanted this fully, but try to 5-star it. Put rapid or spiritual, whatever you want. Put hot potato bucks, all this stuff, and max costs around 11 mil also. So that's the build you want. Just skeleton master. Weapons, you want hurricane bow, spirit bow, bone meringue, and then you're quite squishy with this, so I suggest keeping an aspect to the end so you can just teleport away at any time. Now I'm going to talk about what the archer class actually gives you. You want to stay behind a tank, berserker, a healer, because again, you are quite squishy, and if something comes after you, your only defense will be the hurricane bow, because you're not going to sit there, charge your spirit bow all the way up and hit it again. And aiming doesn't work, so it's if a lost adventure is rushing you and just zigzagging, it's quite hard. Hurricane bow, you don't need to have good aim. And so if we check out the dungeon class right now, I'm only I was level 14 mage and 12 berserker, but I just switched to archer, so I'm only level 10. It gives 130% arrow damage, and remember, I'm only level 10. Most people will be like 15, 16. Passive double shot. So the thing with double shot is, like, at the end, you're basically every shot you do double shots, sometimes even triple shots. And so just take your damage and double it and add it to your normal damage. And so It decreases your melee damage, but you're an archer. When are you gonna melee? Bouncy arrows, sometimes when you shoot your arrow, it's gonna bounce off your target and hit somebody else. Bone plating, sometimes when you get hit, your bone plating basically just kind of tanks for you and makes you not take like 1,000 health or defense. So it basically gives you some extra defense when you get hit sometimes. Dungeon orb abilities, explosive shot. When you click your left dungeon orb, this thing, it'll do an explosive shot. Machine gun bow, this is great for like when you're fighting a LA or something. You just press Q and you start spamming your shots. This does less damage than you usually do, but it's still, you get really good DPS. Just arrows start coming out of your body, and then you can also shoot your hurricane or anything you want. Ghost abilities, drop arrows and stun bow. You can stun the enemy with your stun bow, and then you can drop arrows. Spiritual bow, you can actually shoot arrows when you're dead. So that's Archer. It's really OP. I really suggest switching to it if you're not like a level 16 or higher mage or any of these classes. If you are lower than 15, 14, then I highly recommend Archer if they don't nerf it. So that's my whole guide on Archer. If you enjoyed, please like or subscribe. And yeah.